Have you ever wondered about the dark side of the United States? The nation, often celebrated for its ideals of freedom, democracy, and innovation, also harbors a shadowy underbelly, filled with complexities and contradictions that are woven into the very fabric of its society and history. Think of it like a coin. On one side, you have the shiny veneer of the American dream, the promise of equal opportunity for everyone. But flip that coin, and you'll find a side less spoken about, less glorified, yet equally important: the dark side of the United States. This dark side is a mirror of the challenges the country grapples with, a reflection of the undercurrents that course through its veins. It is the other half of the story, the side that doesn't make it into your typical school textbooks. It's a side of the story that reveals the deep-seated issues and injustices that continue to shape the country's past, present, and future. As we embark on this journey, we'll be exploring 7 key aspects of this dark side. First, we'll uncover the painful legacy of systemic racism, a historical scourge that continues to leave its mark on the country's social fabric. Then we'll delve into the disturbing reality of mass incarceration, a phenomenon that has earned the U.S. the dubious title of having the highest incarceration rate in the world. Next, we'll scrutinize the stark income inequality that persists despite America's economic prosperity, followed by a deep dive into the nation's alarming rates of gun violence and the divisive debates it fuels. We'll also discuss the increasing political polarization that's fracturing the nation's unity and the country's history of imperialism and interventionism that has left indelible marks on the global stage. Finally, we'll acknowledge the country's significant contribution to environmental degradation, a pressing issue that threatens the well-being of our planet. Each of these elements presents a different shade of the country's dark side, offering a more nuanced understanding of the United States. So, buckle up as we delve into these unsettling truths, beginning with the deep-seated issue of systemic racism. Systemic racism has been a haunting specter in American history. It's an insidious force that's woven into the fabric of the nation, tracing its roots back to the era of slavery. This was a time when African Americans were considered property rather than people, a dehumanizing period that left an indelible mark on the nation's conscience. Then came the era of Jim Crow laws, a time when segregation was enforced with a vengeance, and the marginalization of African Americans and other minority groups was not only commonplace but legally sanctioned. Fast forward to the modern day, and we see remnants of this systemic racism still prevalent. It manifests in various forms, from racial profiling to socioeconomic disparities and beyond. The struggle for civil rights and racial equality, though fraught with setbacks, remains a central narrative in the ongoing story of America. This racial divide persists, leaving a dark stain on the American dream. The land of the free is also the home of the world's highest incarceration rate. It's a startling contradiction, isn't it? A nation that prides itself on liberty, yet shackles a disproportionate number of its own citizens, especially from communities of color. This is largely a result of the war on drugs policies enforced in the late 20th century. These policies triggered a surge in imprisonments for nonviolent drug offenses, stuffing prisons to the brim. But the ripple effects stretch far beyond overcrowded cells. These policies have also fueled a relentless cycle of poverty and recidivism, a revolving door that sees too many individuals return to prison after their release. The reasons are complex, but one element is undeniable. The system is stacked against those trying to rebuild their lives. This cycle of poverty and recidivism continues to spin, trapping countless in its wake. In the midst of prosperity, a widening wealth gap casts a long shadow. Indeed, the United States, a beacon of economic success, grapples with a paradox. While it boasts vast wealth, it also suffers from stark income inequality. This disparity is more than just a financial issue, it's a societal one, affecting access to fundamental rights and opportunities. Take education, for instance. It's often said that it's the great equalizer, but in reality, access to quality education is heavily influenced by a family's income level. The same holds true for healthcare and housing, where money often dictates the quality one receives. Even economic opportunities, the very backbone of the American dream, are skewed, favoring those already in positions of wealth. These disparities create a societal chasm, a great divide that perpetuates cycles of poverty and hampers social mobility. This invisible barrier between the haves and the have-nots is a troubling aspect of American society. It's a shadow that we must confront if we are to truly progress as a nation. A deadly epidemic sweeps across the nation: gun violence. It's a scourge that has left no corner untouched, from the bustling metropolis to the quiet suburb. The United States, a land celebrated for its freedom and innovation, also bears the grim title of having one of the highest rates of gun violence in the world. Every day, headlines are splashed with tales of lives lost, communities shattered, and futures stolen. Mass shootings, once shocking, now seem all too common. And yet, beneath these tragedies, a deeper problem persists: the everyday gun violence that plagues our neighborhoods, often unnoticed and unreported. In the midst of this crisis, a fierce debate rages. The right to bear arms, a fundamental tenet of the American Constitution, stands at odds with calls for stricter gun control. This contentious issue has deeply polarized the nation, creating a chasm that seems to widen with each bullet fired. As bullets fly, the debate rages on, leaving communities in fear and families in mourning. A nation divided, the deepening rift of political polarization. Let's delve into the widening chasm that is increasingly dividing the United States along political lines. Like two tectonic plates, liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans, are drifting further apart. This isn't a friendly competition of ideas. It's a seismic shift shaking the very foundations of democracy. The divide is more than just a difference of opinion. It's a profound and growing distrust in the institutions that underpin society. From the courts to the media, from the education system to the halls of Congress, skepticism and cynicism are the orders of the day. This polarization isn't just a problem for politicians. It's a threat to social cohesion. When our shared institutions are under siege, when every issue becomes a battlefield, the bonds that hold us together start to fray. Yet, it's not just about disagreement. It's about the inability to find common ground, to compromise, to bridge the divide. This ideological war fuels mistrust and stagnation, hindering progress and unity. Beyond its borders, the U.S. leaves a heavy footprint. Let's delve into the history of America's global impact, particularly through imperialism and military interventions. For centuries, the United States has been an influential player on the global stage, often asserting its power through military means. From the Spanish-American War in the late 19th century to more recent involvements in the Middle East, American interventions have been driven by a variety of geopolitical interests. These interventions, however, have often resulted in unintended consequences, including political destabilization, conflict, and serious human rights abuses. The repercussions of these actions are felt far and wide, leaving a lasting impact on the nations involved and their people. The U.S.'s international actions have not only shaped the trajectory of global politics, but have also left a profound human cost. These actions have left indelible marks on the world stage, often at a great human cost. This is an aspect of the American narrative that we must acknowledge and learn from. The price of progress is often the environment. As we journey through the industrial age to our current era of technological advancement, we've seen the United States at the forefront of innovation. But this progress has not come without a price. The U.S. stands as one of the world's largest contributors to climate change and environmental degradation. The relentless pursuit of growth has led to a trail of environmental crises in its wake. From the smog-choked cities to the deforestation of vast landscapes, from the pollution of pristine waters to the loss of biodiversity, the evidence is clear and undeniable. The nation's appetite for fossil fuels and unsustainable practices has not only scarred the Earth, but also set in motion a chain of events leading to a warming planet. Climate change is not a distant threat. It's a present reality, with devastating wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. As the world heats up, the clock ticks down, leaving us to wonder what will be the cost of inaction. The dark side of the U.S. is a reflection of its complexities and contradictions. As we've traversed through the underbelly of American history, we've encountered systemic racism, mass incarceration, income inequality, gun violence, political polarization, interventionism, and environmental degradation. Each of these issues is not just a standalone problem, but interconnected, a thread woven into the fabric of American society. The chains of racism are linked to the cycle of poverty and recidivism in mass incarceration. The Great Divide and income inequality fuels the fire of political polarization. Our global footprint is marked by the scars of interventionism and the cost of environmental degradation. These issues are not just historical artifacts, but persisting realities, casting long shadows over the American dream. Yet within this darkness, there is opportunity, a chance to learn, to grow, and to create change. As we confront these shadows, we're left with a question: how can we illuminate the path towards a better future?